Hello, good morning. Today I want to talk about the misconception about fornication. There's this misconception we have had about fornication. Is fornication a sin? Yes, it is a sin. Fornication that God considers fornication is sin. First of all, we need to know that fornication is a spiritual thing and not physical. Those who must worship God must worship Him in spirit and in truth. Fornication that is being preached is a carnal fornication, is a carnal law. Fornication in the eyes of God is a spiritual one. If in me I think I can do the work of ministry or the things of ministry or the things of life by myself, I rest on my own strength. In the sight of God, it is a great sin. It is fornication. These are spiritual laws. Independence from God in my thoughts, in my actions, these are spiritual sins. These are adultery. Hallelujah. He said we should take no thought of what we are to say when we are being held. In that very hour, when we open our mouths to speak, He will speak through us. But we find ourselves breaking the laws of God. We recite our messages over and over. That is dependence on self. And that is adultery. That is fornication in the eyes of God. These are the deeper realms we should look into. The letter killeth. The time of the things written on tables of stones are over. We are spirit beings and not physical. You cannot give life to a spiritual being with a carnal law. The law on 10 commandments written on tables of stones that was given to Moses, the law that is being preached in churches, are on tables of stones. It doesn't give life to a spirit being. We are kings and priests in the order of Melchizedek, a prince forever. And a carnal law cannot give life to a prince that will last forever. So Christ took away that carnal law. It couldn't give life even to the Israelites before the coming of Christ. So he did away with that carnal law. He brought in the spiritual. Those who must worship God must do so in spirit and in truth, not in religion, but in spirit. Hallelujah. Take a look at Nicodemus. He was a great preacher. He was a great rabbi. He was well read. He knew so much about the scriptures, but he had no knowledge of what it means to be born again. That same thing still plays out in the life of Christians today. We talk about spirituality, but we also need to know what it means to be spiritual. Nicodemus asked Christ, what does it take to be born again? Is he going to go back into his mother's womb? And during those days, we will laugh. How foolish does Nicodemus sound? But funny enough, we still sounded foolish, or we still acted foolishly, because we still think that spirituality, being born again, is of the flesh. Christ said that which is spirit is spirit. If we believe that, we should not look out for who is born again with the carnal eyes. We wouldn't look out to see what he does or what he did not do. Christ put an end to condemnation in the flesh. And how did he do that? He was buried amidst criminals. The one on the right and the left were both criminals. There was no doctor in their midst. They were all criminals, and Christ in their middle. Those, if you were during the time of Christ, nothing would have made you not believe that he also was a criminal. Physically, he appeared like the criminals also. Even the disciples struggled to believe because they denied him. They were nowhere to be found. What makes you now think that you would believe Christ if you were present during the time of crucifixion? Because everything physically spelled out that he was among thieves and he was crucified like a thief, and cursed is he who is hanged on the tree. On the physical, it looked as though he was a criminal. That symbol signified that he put an end to physical condemnation. You cannot condemn anyone by the reason of the outward appearance. He was righteous within. He was God within. So the physical was put to an end, taking every man out of the seat of Moses. For the Pharisees, they sit in the seat of Moses to castigate and to condemn, because their judgments were of the physical. So Christ dying on the cross signified that he was putting an end, and he put an end to physical condemnation, thereby giving no one any room to sit on the seat of Moses with the law written on tables of stone. Okay, you have done this, you have done that. What is spiritual is spiritual. Christianity is spiritual. The law of God is spiritual. A law that could not give life to the people before the coming of Christ cannot still give life to you. Forget about the law written on tables of stones. He will write a new law in her heart, and he has written. It's left for you to obey the instructions. No one has the right to sit in judgment of you. That is the statement of Christ. He has come to confound the wisdom of the world, because the wisdom of God is foolishness unto man. No one has that capacity to see and to pass judgment on you physically. It may all look as though you are doing wrong, but no one has that capacity, because he has no truth in him. It's the Spirit that knows the truth. Hallelujah. So, fornication, as the law puts it in the law of Moses, if that is the fornication you're talking about, is not a sin in the eyes of God. That is what we call discretion. Discretion, it's your own. Whatever happens to you, it has nothing. God does not count it against you that it is a sin in his eyes. Fornication is a spiritual sin and not physical. This is to say that all form of righteousness is the righteousness that is within, and it is all that matters to God. Any other kind of righteousness that is on the outward is self-righteousness, and it is an abomination in the sight of God. The Pharisees were all self-righteous. They appeared to be so upright on the physical. They all cared about outward appearance. Oh, what will people say? That woman, is she not a married woman? What is she doing with that man? These are all forms of self-righteousness, and self-righteousness, that's all it points out to. It points out the faults of others. It castigates. It condemns. But the spiritual righteousness is the righteousness of Christ that talks about forgiveness and unconditional love. Love does not take notice of evil. It does not belittle another man. The difference between the Pharisees, a religious Christian, and a true Christian is like the story of the publican and the scribe. The scribe was all boastful about his uprightness, how he is so holy, and looking down on the other man. And the other man was true to himself. Oh, look at me, oh, this is my weakness. Oh, very real with himself. No hypocrisy. Those are the type that are closer and closest to God. But if we live our lives on the law of religion, we can't go close to God. There is no way we can come boldly to him. He said, come to me with all boldness. You cannot form to be bold. You must be like him to be attracted to him. You come boldly to him because you see who resembles you. Who resembles you is who has God is love. Love does not condemn. It does not look down or belittle anyone. It takes no notice of evil. It is not vainglorious. These are the criteria that makes you come boldly to God. There is nothing that will condemn you, no self-condemnation. But the law makes you condemn even yourself. And if you condemn yourself, you must condemn others. In condemning others is a pure sign that you have not forgiven. You must forgive. If you forgive, you stop condemning. You stop taking notice of. That's why the law must be taken out. There is no way the law can work in line with God. We should not be carnally minded. The law is carnality. It brings about a carnal mind. And if we are carnally minded, it is not subject to the law of God. It is against everything God talks about. Because it makes you boastful. It makes you count your self-righteousness and keeping grace aside. That is the spirit of the Antichrist. It belittles grace and makes the death of Christ of no importance. I pray that the Lord opens your eyes to understand the truth about his gospel. This is the gospel and the epistle of Christ. Shalom.